There is a specific kind of patience that only the earth possesses. Not the patience of people who wait because they have no choice. Not the patience of institutions that outlast individual lifetimes by accumulating the efforts of successive generations. But the absolute indifferent, geological patience of ground that has held a secret for so long that the secret and the soil have become the same thing. 230 years of searchers, of expeditions and bankruptcies, and broken machines, and broken men, and the ground of Oak Island absorbed every one of them without giving up what it was holding. Until now. Because something has shifted on this island in a way that the people who know it best can feel before they can fully articulate it. The evidence is coming differently. The finds are landing with a weight and a consistency that previous seasons did not produce. The picture that has been assembling itself from fragments and inference across more than a decade of serious scientific excavation is resolving, the way a photograph resolves in a darkroom, from suggestion into something unmistakable. The truth that Oak Island has been keeping for 230 years is finally emerging. Not all at once, not in the single dramatic revelation that the popular imagination of this search has always pictured, but in the steady, documented, analytically confirmed way that real historical truth actually surfaces. Piece by piece, find by find, season by season, until the weight of the evidence becomes impossible to interpret as anything other than what it is. That weight has been reached, and what it is saying is extraordinary. Wherever you are watching this from tonight, whether this is your first time on this channel, or you have been here since the beginning, you are welcome here. Drop a comment below and let this community know where in the world you are joining from, because the people watching this story unfold reach further than you would believe. And tonight what this community gets to see is a search that has turned a corner it has been approaching for years. The Oak Island excavation under the Lagina brothers and the Fellowship has always been different in character from what came before it. More methodical, more scientifically rigorous, more willing to invest in understanding the island before trying to extract what it contains. But methodical approaches take time to produce results that match their ambition, and the seasons of careful groundwork have sometimes made the pace of revelation feel slow against the scale of what everyone involved believes is down there. The pace has changed, the truth is emerging. And the evidence behind that statement is the most compelling body of material this search has ever assembled. 230 years is a span of time that is difficult to hold in the mind all at once, and it is worth trying before going any further, because the length of this search is not just a dramatic detail, it is a measure of how effectively this island protected its secret, and how extraordinary it is that the secret is now yielding. In 1795, when Daniel McGinnis first noticed the depression in the ground of Oak Island and recruited his friends to investigate, the United States of America was 6 years old. Napoleon Bonaparte was a relatively obscure military officer, beginning his rise through the ranks of the French Revolutionary Army. The Industrial Revolution was in its earliest stages in England and had not yet reached North America. The world that first broke the surface of Oak Island was separated from the world that is finally beginning to understand it by the entirety of modern history, by the transformation of human civilization across 2¼ centuries of technological, political, and scientific change. Every generation that searched this island across those 230 years added something to the accumulated knowledge of the site. Some added physical finds, some added the negative knowledge of what approaches did not work and why. Some added the theoretical frameworks that subsequent generations refined into something closer to a genuine understanding of the engineering they were dealing with. None of them reached the answer. What the current excavation has that no previous generation possessed is not just better equipment, or more money, or more scientific sophistication, though all of those things are true. It is the accumulated knowledge of every previous effort, organized and applied through a methodology that treats the island as a system to be understood, rather than a vault to be forced open. The truth that is emerging now is emerging partly because this team finally has enough pieces of the puzzle to see the picture they belong to. The evidence that the truth is emerging is not a single find or a single season of work. It is a pattern, and patterns are what serious archaeology produces when it is working correctly. The material coming out of the Oak Island excavation in the current phase of the work is landing with a consistency that the team's analysts describe in terms that this search has rarely if ever justified before. Objects recovered from the primary construction layer, the undisturbed original deposits that sit below the centuries of subsequent activity and disturbance, are producing dates and compositional profiles that align with a specific historical period and a specific geographic origin. The alignment is not approximate. It is precise enough to support conclusions, and the conclusions are the conclusions that the overall evidence of the island has been pointing toward for years. The truth that is emerging from the ground of Oak Island is medieval. It is European. It is associated with an organization that had the resources and the engineering capability to build what this island contains, and that had the motivation, the urgent and desperate motivation of people whose world was being destroyed around them, to bring what they most needed to protect to the most remote and the most defensible location they could reach. Each find that comes out of the ground in this phase of the excavation is another thread in that fabric. Each analytical result that confirms the date and the origin of recovered material is another sentence in the story that the island is finally consenting to tell. The picture is not complete. There are chambers still sealed, and depths still unreached, and questions that the evidence has raised without yet answering. But the outline of the truth is visible now in a way that it has not been at any previous point in 230 years of searching. The human dimension of this emerging truth matters as much as the physical evidence, and it would be a mistake to leave it out of the account. The Fellowship of Oak Island is not an abstraction. It is a group of specific people who have given specific portions of their lives to this search, who have sustained losses in the course of it, and absorbed setbacks that would have ended the commitment of people less convinced that what they were looking for was real. The Lagina brothers are the center of that group, and the character of their investment in this search is something that the years of the show have made genuinely visible to anyone who has followed it. What the current phase of the excavation is giving them is something that the difficult seasons did not. The experience of a search that is responding, of ground that is yielding material consistent with what they always believed was there, of analytical results that confirm rather than complicate, that resolve rather than multiply questions, of a truth that is actually emerging rather than perpetually receding into the next season and the season after that. That experience, after everything it cost to get here, is not a small thing. It is the thing that makes the whole account of this search something more than a story about engineering and archaeology and medieval history. It is a story about what it costs to hold a conviction through years of difficulty, and what it means when the conviction turns out to have been justified. The truth that Oak Island has been keeping for 230 years is not just a historical secret. It is the answer to a question that serious people gave serious portions of their lives to asking. And the answer is finally coming. The island is still demanding. The water is still managed rather than defeated. The depth is still a challenge. And the engineering built into this site by people who intended it to last forever has not stopped working simply because the people trying to get past it have finally figured out what they are dealing with. Oak Island will resist until the last chamber is opened and the last deposit is reached, because resistance is what it was designed to do. But the resistance is yielding ground now in a way that it was not yielding before. The finds are real, the dates are confirmed. The pattern of evidence is coherent and consistent and pointing in a direction that 230 years of searching always suspected, and that the current excavation is now documenting in the physical record with a clarity that no previous season achieved. After 230 years, the truth is finally emerging from the ground of Oak Island. It is emerging slowly, in the patient way that buried things come to light when the people searching for them finally understand the place they are searching. But it is emerging, and what it is going to reveal when the last layer of the island's defenses is finally passed and the deposits that were placed here centuries ago are finally brought into the light, is going to be worth every year of the wait. What comes next, you do not want to miss.